Hello friends, I'm going to be starting another podfic on the channel. This one is not a one-shot, it is one of my little bit longer ones. It's a total of 8 chapters, and I'll probably record them like in 4 different pieces, so 2 chapters for each one. This is a My Hero Academia fandom fanfiction. The relationships in this story are Kirishima and Bakugo, and Kaminari and Shinso. They are the only 4 characters that are in the story. Some of the additional tags we have are angst with a happy ending, summer romance, slow burn, alternate universe modern setting, alternate universe no quirks, summer love, strangers to lovers, beaches, love confessions, vulnerability, miscommunication, Bakugo Katsuki is bad at feelings, emotional, aged up characters, bakery and coffee shop, baker Bakugo Katsuki, coffee shop owner Kirishima Adro, kissing, and tension. This fic, I already said, is 8 chapters, but it's also 6,400 words. And I wrote this one at the end of summer, and it was supposed to be a summer romance, and it got a lot more angsty than I anticipated, but I ended up being okay with it. Here's the summary. What begins as a summer fling between Bakugo and Kirishima quickly becomes something more messy and awkward. What starts out as something easy and light turns complicated and real. Now they have to figure out if what they had is worth fighting for. Maybe they can figure out how to make this work. One coffee, one conversation, and one honest moment at a time. Chapter 1, Back to Reality. Prologue. The fire's warmth did little to chase the chill of the ocean breeze, but neither of them cared. He was close enough to feel the heat of his skin and the steady rhythm of his breathing. Katsuki, he said softly, the name feeling strange on his tongue, too intimate for someone he barely knew, too familiar for someone he'd never see again. He smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Eijiro, he answered. No last names, no promises, just the 2 of them, here and now. The waves whispered secrets they couldn't understand, and the sky stretched endlessly above, sprinkled with distant stars. They didn't talk about what would come after, didn't ask questions that had no answers. A hand brushed his hair back, fingers gentle but sure. The kiss that followed was like fire and water all at once, warm, fleeting, inevitable. The night wound down, the fire lost its glow, and like footprints in the sand, it faded with the tide, expected and inevitable. Chapter 1, Back to Reality. Kirishima stood behind the counter, clipboard in hand, running through inventory notes while the morning rush gradually settled. The sounds of the cafe buzzed softly around him, the hiss of the espresso machine and the faint clatter of cups in the kitchen. But his mind wasn't on the schedule or the orders. It was still somewhere else. Kaminari plopped onto the stool beside him, grinning like he'd just uncovered the biggest secret in the world. So, spill it, man. I've been waiting all summer. Who's the mystery guy you've been mooning over? Not a single name dropped. Kirishima chuckled, setting his pen down. Come on, it wasn't that serious. Just something casual while I was away. Kaminari raised an eyebrow. Casual, huh? You? I find that hard to believe. You've been smiling like a damn fool every time you mention him. Kirishima shook his head, cheeks warming. I told you, it's nothing. Kaminari nudged him with an elbow. No spark at all? I bet there's some wild story, someone you met by chance, or some summer fling drama. Kirishima let out a breath and looked out the window, watching the waves of people passing by the street. Yeah, maybe. Just something that didn't need a name. Before Kaminari could push further, the bell above the cafe door jingled sharply. Kirishima turned, his breath catching. A tall figure entered, blonde hair messy from travel, eyes dark and sharp like a storm ready to break. Kirishima's heart stuttered, the world narrowing until it was just the two of them. The man scanned the room briefly, then his gaze landed on Kirishima, steady and unreadable. Shinso's voice cut through the tension with practiced calm. "This is the baker I've been telling you about, Bakugo Katsuki. He's sharp, reliable, and ready to work." Bakugo muttered under his breath, avoiding eye contact. "You've got to be fucking kidding me." Kaminari raised an eyebrow, noticing Bakugo's sharp glare. "Whoa, okay, you're acting like you actually know him." "Wait, do you know each other?" Bakugo shot Kaminari a look, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "I said you've got to be kidding me, because I'm going to be stuck working with your annoying ass." Kaminari snorted, completely unfazed. "Wow, love you too, man." Bakugo rolled his eyes, brushing past him towards the back, already regretting this. Kirishima cleared his throat, forcing himself to focus. "Right, this way, Bakugo. We can go over onboarding stuff in the back." Bakugo didn't look at him as he passed. "Yeah, whatever." Flashback, a few weeks ago. The bar wasn't exactly crowded, but it buzzed with enough life to blur at the edges of thought, just loud enough to keep Kirishima from thinking about spreadsheets and espresso orders and whether the staff could handle 3 days without him. He'd promised himself this trip would be different. No work, no plans, no hiding behind a smile that only showed up when other people needed it. He leaned on the counter, halfway through a drink he didn't love, eyes scanning the room without meaning to. Then he saw him. A few stools down, shoulders tense, ash blonde hair and a black t-shirt, one hand wrapped around a glass like he'd kill it if it gave it a reason. Alone, not looking to be bothered. Kirishima didn't even think before walking over. "Bad night?" The guy looked over slowly, like it took effort to care. "No," said flatly. "Just not a fan of people." Kirishima grinned. "Then why come to a bar?" He shrugged. "It's loud. Easier to shut shit out." Fair enough, Kirishima slid onto the stool beside him, leaving space between them. "I'll leave you alone if you want." The guy snorted. "If I wanted to be alone, I'd have stayed in my room." That was permission, or at least something like it. They weren't great at small talk, but neither of them stood up and neither of them asked the other to. The guy was sharp-tongued, restless, and said whatever he wanted without apology. Kirishima liked the honesty. There was a lull in the music, a shift in the crowd, and the guy glanced over. "You on vacation or running from something?" Kirishima laughed softly. "Both." "You?" The guy didn't answer, just downed the last of his drink and stood up. "You coming?" It wasn't a question about drinks, or the beach, or anything small. Kirishima's pulse jumped. He didn't ask for a name, neither did the guy. He just followed. Katsuki tapped the keycard against the door lock, the light blinking green. He glanced back over his shoulder, eyes sharp but steady, and took Eijiro's hand in his. "You sure about this?" he asked quietly, as if giving Eijiro a chance to step back. Eijiro met his gaze and nodded. No words were needed after that. Katsuki pushed the door open and led him inside. Later, when they lay there, sweaty, quiet, heads finally clearing, he said, "So what do I call you?" The guy stretched, muscles flexing in the low light. "Katsuki." Kirishima hesitated. "Eijiro." There was a beat, a glance, an unspoken decision. "No last names?" Katsuki shook his head. "Doesn't matter." Eijiro nodded. Katsuki's mouth quirked like he didn't believe him. "Right, just a few days. No promises." Eijiro didn't argue. They stayed like that, Days full of heat and half-truths. Nights soaked in bourbon, sweat, and starlight. Katsuki never asked what Eijiro did. Eijiro never asked why Katsuki's jaw was always clenched like the world owed him something. They made a deal. Don't make it more than it is. But when Katsuki kissed him just before dawn, like it was goodbye, Eijiro's chest pulled tight. That was just part of the deal. The taste of salt and bourbon lingered on Kirishima's tongue like a ghost as the memory faded, pulled away by the morning light filtering through the cafe window. Reality settled back in, the steady rhythm of orders being called, cups clinking, and the unmistakable sharp presence of Bakugo standing just feet away. Kirishima swallowed and forced a smile, stepping towards the back room. "Right, onboarding," he said, voice tighter than he intended. Bakugo shot him a glance sharp enough to cut glass, but said nothing, following him without a word. Kaminari dropped back onto the stool beside Shinso, stretching dramatically. "Man, Bakugo's even grumpier than usual today. You sure he's not already sick of the job? He hasn't even started yet." Shinso didn't answer right away, his gaze lingering on the door they'd just gone through, brow furrowed like he was trying to work out a puzzle without all the pieces. Kaminari squinted at him. "Why's your thinking face on? You look like someone swapped your coffee with decaf." Shinso blinked, then shook his head once, slow and thoughtful. "Nothing. Just weird vibe." Kaminari snorted. Everything about Bakugo's vibe is weird. Shinso didn't argue, but his eyes didn't move from the door. All right, friends, thank you so much. I'm just going to do chapter 1 for this one since it was longer because I included the prologue with it, which means there'll probably be another one later that has 3 pieces. But I think the chapters at the end are shorter, so it should all balance out. So I hope you enjoyed this first piece, and I hope that you'll come back for the next part. All right, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.